Hey.
There is a lady and a young girl that is sitting right next to your door.
Okay.
And they said they would probably have to leave in like 5 minutes. Is there a way you can?
Yep. Okay, hopefully you guys can hear me if you're doing this online. It's like we got a couple people when somebody just dropped out. So today, basically, we are going to program our first part. And just it's a pretty simple program. It's not too bad. So if you go to the home screen, we're going to be doing lesson. See here, you already did all these, so we should be in lesson 2. So let's go through those real quick, and then we'll jump into the face-off. Okay. Sorry, I got pulled away from class for a little bit there. Okay, so we're going to go through these pretty quick. Okay, and don't feel like you're you might feel like it's way too much information here, but we're going to be going through it for 16 weeks, so you're going to be fine. Okay, but this is just the beginning of it. Okay, so the first thing is just a standard machining center, and I want to kind of explain that. Okay, so these are the tools we'll be using. Okay, and they're kind of like, most of you I'm sure are familiar with a drill bit. Okay, they're kind of like that, but they're a mill. And what the difference is, a lot of times they'll have they cut on the side and not just on the tip. Okay, and some of them can cut on the tip as well. There's basically teeth that are sharp right on all the way on the edge, and it's made to actually go up against the piece of metal or plastic or wood and cut it. Okay. They can be high-speed steel, which is a really strong steel, or they could be carbide, which is basically a form of almost like diamond. Okay, so they can be either ones of them. This part is actually a collet. So what it is it's hollow in the middle, and you shove that bit up in there, and then you turn this bottom piece, and it locks up on there. And this is a special like ISO 30 cone that is like a slip fit, so the collet in the machine will grab this and hold it really tight and wrap around this and won't let go no matter what. Okay, because when you got 7 horsepower spinning these up to 36,000 RPM, you know, they become a bullet. So you got to really, it can't let go or bad things happen. So the sizes we're going to use on our little mill, which is the same thing as a big mill, it's just smaller, but it's identical. And there's, like I said, there's probably 1,000 people in this area working at these kinds of companies. Matching Precision, Wapaka, I don't know, there's a bunch of other ones, Versatech. So the sizes we're going to use is an 1/8 of an inch bit, a 1/4 inch bit, a 3/8 bit. And this is a 1 inch bit, which is more of a planing tool. You can see it's got special teeth that would screw on it, and those are replaceable. Okay, that's kind of how a planing bit usually is. On a bigger machine, they'd be bigger, you know, up to 6 inches or something. So you can really take some metal off and flatten off the top of the metal. But we're going to be kind of doing the same thing. Okay, and then the machine component. So this is a picture of a small mill. Okay, but like I said, and again, a big mill is the same thing. No matter almost all of them, unless you get into ones that have like all kinds of more axes and specialty, they're very much the same thing. So this would be the x-axis, and this thing moves back and forth. Okay, in the x direction, and then you can see the accordion gear guard here. Right, that'll be the y direction. So it'll move back and forth in the y direction, and then it moves up and down in the z direction. Okay, and those are just XYZ numbers. Just like we type in CAD, same thing. That's how we're going to program this thing. Okay, and the big there's a bit in the collet, and there's a motor that's going to spin at about 2,000 RPM. And a big machine is basically the same thing. This one's got a little guard around it and a safety button and a speed on the side. So it's almost identical to a big machine as far as the layout goes. Okay. And you can actually see it over there in the classroom on the south side. Okay, that's the one we're going to be using. We will do some hands-on. Now, if you're doing this class completely online, it's just virtual, but most of the students we're going to be doing one together. So, all right, and this is the first G and M codes. You kind of saw them last class, and you heard me, you know, say what they did a little bit, but they're basically they all do a little bit different, but they're not too bad. So these are like movement codes, okay? G1 to G3. So that just means G0 means goes fast, not in a part. You type in the XYZ number, it's going to go there. G1, the same darn thing. Type in XYZ, it's going to go there, okay? And then, but this has got a speed to it, slows it down, so it's usually in metal when it's doing this. This is usually in the air, okay? That's the only difference. Otherwise, you type them the same way. G2, same thing. Type in G2 and then the XYZ, except This goes in a clockwise arc, so you add a radius of the arc that you want to use, okay? And it goes clockwise. Well, G3 is the same thing, except it's going to go counterclockwise, okay? The opposite of that, all right? And those are kind of the main ones we're going to use, start out with. A couple other ones we're going to use in the beginning. G28 just tells the machine to go home. There's a home position in the top left, so like this thing, the home's like right up here. It's going to tell it to go over there, okay? G92, which is the next one, says, okay, my part's in the clamp right here. What's the distance between the machine home and the part home? And you got to tell the X, Y, Z for the distance. Okay, so it's really not. I mean, it's hard to remember what all these codes are, but once you by the end of the semester, you're going to do them enough that you'll remember. Okay, the end of the program, you put an M2, say it's done. To turn the spindle on, you put an M3 and S2000 or 1500 says turn it on at 1500 RPM. M5 turns it off. Okay, M6 like T1 says change the tool to tool 1. T2 would be tool 2, and so on. Okay, and then those so this one here, this big one's tool 1, 1/8 of an inch is tool 2 and 3, and then 4 in our machines. Okay. So and a lot of these other ones we'll learn about as we go. And there's literally, you know, a couple hundred G codes, and some of them are machine specific. But the main ones that you use, I already went through with you. That's how many there are. There's not that the standard ones that you really need to know real well. There's just about a dozen, and the rest of them you kind of just read them when you do them. Unless you do it every day, then you memorize them. But if you just want to know the main ones, you're good to go. Okay, let's see here. So this one, this PDF basically goes through the, you know, like I said earlier, the difference in the distance is a G92. So it knows where the machine home is and where the part, with this part's like simulated in a clamp. So like how far is it from that position to this position in the X, Y, and Z. Okay, and I'll give you those numbers. Okay, and this is kind of a standard checklist. In the beginning of program, we're going to, just like we did last one, you're going to put a semicolon with a bunch of information telling your name, project description, date, all that stuff. And it doesn't do anything except tell the next guy what's going on, you know, the stock size and material and your part number. Okay, and that's pretty standard. And then after that, you actually start coding, okay? And on our machine, you're going to need to have tool 1 always in there first so it homes correctly, because the tools are a little bit different length. And if you have the wrong tool in there, it will offset the home by that much, which isn't really, it's not too complicated, but you just make sure tool 1's always in it. So we'll always write that code first, M621, and it always puts it in there first. And then after that, we'll say go home with G28. And then we'll tell it how far the distance is from the machine home to the part 0, which is G92 with an X, Y, and Z. Okay. And then we start telling it where to go. Usually a G0 to get down there real quick, and then a G1 to start cutting through metal. And that's just X, Y, and Z positions where you want to go again. Okay. Before that, somewhere up here, we have to actually turn the spindle on with a with an M3 and a speed. Okay. And then after we get done running it, we'll shut it off with an M5. Try to put tool 1 back in there. Okay, I'll send it to a safe position with G0. That's the whole program. I know that was very quick, but as you can see, I went through that fast, so it's really not super complicated. It's just kind of getting it in your head and kind of feeling comfortable with putting in those positions is the hardest part. Okay, and we're going to do it together, so you don't feel like you'll be lost on it, especially till you get it. Let's see here. All right, so that was the lesson. Let's go straight into the lab. Real easy lab today. We're going to draw it up in CAD, and then we're going to do a short program. It won't take too long. Okay. So that is lab 2 mill NC face off. So we're going to need AutoCAD open. So if you want to go ahead and open that up. Okay, there's a whole lot of information here, so I'm just going to jump back and forth as we need it. Like I do have a little video on a tutorial here. I think I forgot to put M2 to finish the program in there. So if you watch the video, you can kind of just do that one. And make sure you add an M2 to the end of the program, okay? Which has actually got that here on the sample program too. So in the video, I think I forgot to say that. We'll need to open this workspace when we run the program before we write it. So it does all the right tools, okay? What else we're gonna need here? Anything else as far as files? And this kind of explains how you run it when you get all done writing it. Okay, but we're going to do it together in class, so it's no big deal. All right, so this is a face-off layout. So we're going to open that up and put that on another screen. Okay, now I'm going to do a split screen again. Okay, that's the first thing we're going to do is draw this thing up. Okay. Everybody see that, I hope. Okay. So you've got two screens, so make sure you utilize them and make sure this is open. Don't try to just, this thing's never in the right spot no matter where I put it, I think. Don't try to look up there on the screen. You can, but it's also good to have it open. That way, if you get a little confused, it's right there. And I want you to kind of get the hang of doing it on your own a little bit too, right? So, plus it's pretty far away. Some of you might have a hard time seeing that. Okay, so open up that template that we made last time. So if it's not showing up on AutoCAD like mine is, I'm sure yours is not. Just go to the big A up here if you're using the new one, or the file if it's the old one, and go to open. Okay, just like any Windows thing, open a drawing and go find that in your files. It probably won't come up, so you got to go to your U drive, and then hopefully you made a folder for this class, right? And then grab your mill template that we saved last class. Okay, you'll definitely need that. Okay, so we're going to modify this template to match, or this template to match the example. Okay, we'll do it together. It'll be pretty easy. Okay, so I'm gonna pause the video and see if anybody has any questions real quick here. Try to. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna draw this up. Let's see if I can tell you the plan of action here. It's always good to come up with a plan before you start, because otherwise you end up doing it 5 times. So whether you're building a house or drawing a CAD thing. So my plan here is, I guess, first of all, to draw the zigzag green thing. Okay. That should be an easy draw. Then once we draw that, we're going to copy the big tool, because that's the only one we're using, big circle, into all the locations where it's going to change direction, because that's what you program. You program the direction changes. We're just going to program it, go from here, zoom over here, zoom over there, zoom over here, and back and forth outside. That's the end of the program when we get that done. Okay. So we're going to draw that line first, copy those in there, and then put the extra dimensions that are missing on here. Okay. So pretty easy draw, really. All right, so let's do it together. So you're in AutoCAD here. And first thing we want to do is make sure we got all the settings turned on. So make sure ortho is turned on. Okay. Make sure your UCS is like mine on our 0, 0 of our part. If it's not there, that make sure it's on the edge of the part, because that's what we're going to use that number to be tell it everything. So since our UCS is right here, which is our part reference 0, remember that's the part 0 that we have to, machine has to know where that's at, right, for the programming. To the left of the y-axis is a negative X number. To the right are all positive numbers. And since we're always above in the y, all these y numbers here are all positive. If we were below it, there'd be a negative y. Most time, the way I'm doing it, we're usually going to have positive y's, but even today we'll run into a negative x. Okay, and the reason we're not putting it right on the part, we're putting it a little bit past the part, and the way this overlaps is because if you can do things without overlapping, but you'll have a line in your part, which for some things that's probably okay, but for most things it's not. Most time you have to have a little bit of overlap. And yes, I could have had a lot less overlap, but I couldn't have got less than 4 moves anyway, so it's good to make them even. So that's kind of how I picked all these numbers, okay, and locations. I just wanted to have it keeps the tool wear the same, okay, if you have the same overlap while you're cutting into the part, okay. So this represents, and we're actually going to cut this on wax for the machine, but you could do it with plastic or steel or anything, and it'd be exactly the same way. It might just go a little slower, right? Does anybody have any questions? Everybody's good? All right, we're back up to 3 participants online. Yes, I thought we lost everybody there for a minute. Sorry, I was late. I had to help a student. Okay, so let's start with the zigzag. So pick line. Okay, and if you're out of the window, you might have picked it twice. I was in the window there. Now we need to tell our first location. Okay, so our first location. Anybody in class want to guess what it is? No, we're starting right here. We're going to do the green line. What? Yeah, that's the Y. Okay, so I'll help you out a little bit on the first one. So we're gonna do this quick way. So the first position is negative 0.06, comma 0.375. So you guys were close there. So negative 0.6. I don't know what I said there, but it's negative 0.6, not 0.6. Negative 0.6, comma, and then it's positive in the Y, so 0.375. So those are our X and Y coordinates. Okay, and in front they're from 0. We're using absolute, and that's all the time because that's what the machine uses by default. You can tell it to use relative, but most time you don't. We will be doing a little bit of that, but not much. Most time it's all absolute. So you always think about where your X, Y is at, and that's where you tell it to go. Don't think about where you're at and where you're going. Think about where it is compared to the 0, 0. Okay. We type that first number, and I screwed up already. Okay, so hit escape. If somebody sees me screw up, say, shouldn't you do this? Because sometimes they get too big already. What I did was we needed to change the line type and the color, and I didn't do that. And we need to resave this before we start, so it's so we don't copy over our top of our template. All right. So let's go to big A or the file up there and do save as. Okay, save as, and let's call it what it is. Lab 2, and it's you can do all caps. That's probably a little more professional. Lab 2, and it's face off. That way you'll remember what it actually is. Okay, Lab 2 face off. I'm gonna call. Make sure it's saving in the U drive. It's very important. If it's not, remember it'll be gone. If you save on the C drive on your school server anyway, it'll be gone. So Lab 2 face off. So you always want to resave over your template. I forget to do that all the time. And it's very annoying because then you open your template and it's got all this stuff on it, and then you got to erase all that to get back to the template. So if I forget to do that, somebody yell at me. All right, and then the next thing, properties. We get to change our line type so we can actually draw the green one instead of the. You want your tool movement and your tool and your part to all be different colors so you can see it better. Otherwise, like your dimensions end up having lines over the top of the other lines, and it's just kind of confusing when you're trying to program. Okay, so we're going to change it from red to pick a light color, and I don't care what you pick. I'm going to pick light green because it shows up, I think, a little bit better on the screen. Hopefully, red might even show up better, but pick green. But I already used red, so I'm not going to pick that. Okay. And then also in properties, let's change the line type. Then these typically where the tool moves, you make a center line. Okay, so that way you know it's a tool movement and not the part. Okay, so we're gonna drop that down. And if you've got center available here at school, you might. I don't have it available. If you download it all, okay, you might not have it available. If you got it available, just pick it. Okay, if you don't have it available, pick the other button. Okay, and it's not available in this group, so you got to load that line type. So I'm gonna pick load. Now, like I said, if you had it ready, don't do this. And these are alphabetical, so it's center and it's center 2, which all that this 2 means is it's kind of the opposite of what you think. It's half the distance for the line. So all line type is like it's a dash of space, a dash of space. And you can actually program this. We do this in a couple of my CAD classes, and it's a dash space, dash space, dash space. Center 2 means they're half as far apart and they show up a little better. Okay, so pick center 2. When the original programmers programmed AutoCAD in the 70s, they really made them too far apart. Half the time they don't work. So that's why we're doing center 2. Okay, and hit OK. Now pick it, okay, and pick current. Okay, now that'll be the one we do, and hit OK. And then I always double check in properties, make sure it's actually all right, because after I forget to hit current. So there's center 2 and there's green. So now I finally got it all right. Now we did do it all over again. So pick line. Does anybody have any questions? Everybody's good? Okay, and then we want to put the same thing we did in before, negative 0.6 in the X, comma, negative 0.6, comma, 0.375. Okay. Okay, but it should be starting out right there. So make sure yours is starting out about the same position. Now look, we're getting a nice green center line. Okay, so we're going to shortcut this. So make sure your ortho is on, that little blue thing down there, right? I'm not going to type in all those numbers because I try to teach you guys the fast way and not the slow way. So I do a little math in my head. This number base is from 0, so it's not 3.6. It's 3.6 plus 0.6, so it's 4.2 over. Okay, so I'm going to type straight over. So as long as I hold my mouse straight over, I can just type 4.2. Enter. Done. That one's finished. Instead of typing on all those crazy numbers. And then I do a little math in my head. So this is 1 1/8 minus 3/8 is 3/4. So I know I got to go up 3/4, and they're all the same. So everything's going to be the same. They're the same every way. So now I move the mouse straight up, and I 0.75. If it's 3/4. Okay. And then you could actually type 3/4 and it would still work too. Now I'm going to move my mouse to the right, do the same thing, 4.2. Okay. And I'm going to move my mouse up, 0.75. Move my mouse to the right, 4.2. Move my mouse up, 0.75. Move my mouse to the left, 4.2, and hit enter because I'm done. Enter again, finish that thing out. Wasn't that easy? All right, I'm gonna pause the video for just a second and make sure everybody's doing good here. Try to here. Okay, so we've got that done. All right. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to copy that reference, or basically the example of that 3/4 inch tool, which is that big old circle. Okay. So when we copy this circle, you want to make sure the first point you pick for your base point is the center of the circles. Okay. And then we'll drop it repeatedly in all these positions we just made. Okay. And those represent every change. When there's a change in movement, that's when you got to make a new code to tell it that way. Okay. So up here in the modify group, pick copy. Okay. All right. And then pick the big circle and then hit F. Well, the way all these AutoCAD things work, you pick the objects next. So now hit enter after you pick the object. Okay. And it says, well, where's the base point? Well, the base point is center circle. So make sure you get the center of that circle. Okay. And now just continually, it might not look like it's going the right place, but as long as it's got a green or the quick snap going the right place, it will. Okay. So I'm gonna make sure I get that quick snap and just keep dropping it in everyone. If you get an extra one or someone I'm drawing, just go back and delete it later. Just go ahead and keep on dropping them. So every place there's an end of a line where it goes a different direction, I'll put one. Okay. When I get them all in there, I'm sure I got them. That looks right. There's 8 of them. Should enter to finish it out. Okay. All right. Everybody good? Anybody not? That's good. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is all the dimensions. Okay, and we've already got most of them. Okay, we just got to do this 3.6, 0.6, and all these. All right, so we want to switch colors again on our dimensions. All right, and line types as well. So go back to properties and switch it from green to whatever color you picked for your dimensions. Mine was red, so I'm picking that. For my line type, it needs to be by layer. Okay, which is basically in the layer settings, you can change line type, and default is straight, so continuous. So right, so make sure in the properties you switched it over to your color and your line type. Okay, and this will be the same thing we do every time we make these, so you get kind of beat into you after a while. All right, then we go over to the annotate group. Okay, and where it says linear, just drop that down and find ordinate. Okay, like what we did last time. All right, find ordinate and then just put all those dimensions that are missing in. So you pick a point, pick the spot for it. Okay, hit enter to repeat the command. Go find, pick another point, pick a spot for it, hit enter for the command, or to repeat it, I mean, and just keep doing that. If you mess it up, just hit escape and try again. Don't always hit delete. Just pick an object and put delete on your keyboard to get rid of anything. I'm just picking the start, place to start, place to stop, hitting enter to repeat. Place to start, place to stop, enter to repeat. And moving my mouse in the direction I want to put it. Okay, I think that's it. Anybody see anything? Oh, we need to the last thing we need to do, if you get that done, I'll go around and see if anybody's stuck in it. So the last thing you need to do is update the text. Okay, this is called lab 2, right? So there's not enough room there for the whole thing. So I'm just put lab 2 and change the date. So double click on that text, click on it wherever you want to change it again, and just backspace it out of there and call it lab 2. And probably change the date too. It's not very critical, but might as well be correct with it. 1/3. Okay, 1/13 me. All right, so that's it. Anybody see anything I missed? I used to give bonus points for people that find things that I missed, but I was given so many bonus points, I decided it's just way too much. So anyway, so now we're not going to do that anymore. All right, so let's hit save. You should just be able to hit save because you're right, unless you didn't hit save as while ago. If you didn't hit save as while ago, make sure you save it as lab 2. But otherwise, just hit save. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a minute to upload that canvas. Okay, so upload this to lab 2 mill NC face off. That way we don't forget. Okay, so go ahead and upload that. That one's done. We'll upload the program next. That is your first layout. Kind of cool. It's giving us all our position. Hey, I'm gonna walk around and check everybody here real quick. Okay, so we've got that done. Now we're going to use this to do the program next. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started on that next. All right. So the next thing we need is we need to open up CNC base. I think, did we do that last time? Yeah, you definitely did. Okay, so open up your CNC base. Now I got it on my laptop, but it's in, I think, if it's in the quick links on your screen at school, if you're using the school one, if you're on VMware or here at school, and then it might be under Pro Light or something like that. But you want the CNC base, the one that looks like a mill. Don't grab the one that looks like a lathe. You want the one that looks like a mill. Yeah, Pro Light 1000. Yep. Okay. Make sure you grab that one. We will be using the lathe the second half of the semester, but we're going to start out with all the mill. Mill is what's used 90% of the time. Lathe is used less. Okay. So we don't spend as much time on that, but we do learn how to run or program it. It's programmed the same way, still XYZs. Yep. Well, that's terrible. We got a plan for you. Okay, let's see here. Okay, so the first thing we need to do, did I put the, I hope I did. Yeah, good. I put the mill workspace thing in here again. We've got to do that. Remember, it always shuts it off and starts back up. So we always want to remember to do that. So if you haven't, that should be on your U drive. You can grab it there, or you can just download and do it again. I'm going to download and do it again because I don't remember where I put it. I'm going to hit that button. I'm going to download right here. Okay. Then I'm going to go over to File. So I opened up the program, of course, and do not hit open. Okay. If anybody hits open after I said do not hit open, I don't know. I'm going to take 2 bonus points away. Okay. Give you negative bonus points. All right. So hit open workspace for the workspace. Guys, I always got to hit open workspace for workspace. And you can't double click on it because Windows isn't smart enough to figure it out. So pick open workspace and go find that file we just downloaded. Mine was right in downloads, and you can see I downloaded it 5 times. Okay. So I'm going to pick that one because it doesn't really matter. They're all the same. Hit open. Yep. It's going to shut it down, start it back up. Okay. And it's going to tell me the tip of the week. Yay. Okay, close. Okay, so now I'm going to move the screen around so I can see what I'm doing. These are just a bunch of windows, so you can move them around however you like. Okay. I'm going to move over here to the left. All right. And then I'm going to hit File New. Okay, so that's going to open up my window to program in. Okay. Okay. Is anybody online having any problems? You guys all good?
Nope, I'm good.
All right. Claire, I guess you're good too. All right. If you're hopefully you're there. All right. So I'm going to move these windows around so it's decent. We can see it. You want to have all these open. Okay. A lot of students end up shutting them down. Don't do that. Okay. Because we need them all. Right. Put that one right there, I guess. So this one's going to be our virtual machine. This one allows us to easily pick optional skip, which you have to do every time before you verify it, because there's no G28 home on the virtual machine, and there's no G92 because the tools aren't really in a different position than they are at the home position because it's not a real machine. Okay, so that G92 and the G28 that we're going to type in, we're going to have the slash in front of them, and the slash, when you pick this button, optional skip, makes the program ignore them. Okay. Okay, that's what the optional skip button does. So you always want to make sure you got that slash in there, and you always want to pick this before you verify. So that's why this has to be open. And plus you can hit the green button to go a little faster sometimes. This machine info over here tells us the line where we made mistakes. Okay, so let's just troubleshoot real fast. Okay, and it also tells us where the tool's at. We leave all them open. You can shut the other ones down. And if you accidentally shut one down like that one, machine info, just go back up here to view and turn it back on. Okay. All right. Okay, so now let's go through and program this thing. So read through my notes here. So we're going to tell it to go down to, let's put all these standard codes in first. I'll go through them one at a time and talk to you about them. Okay, so let's type all these in. These are the standard codes that typically won't change on our programs. Okay, so we're going to type them in, and we'll save this as template as well, and then resave it as lab 2. That way, every time we don't have to retype them. It's kind of debatable whether you should retype them because it does help you remember for the midterm and stuff when you have to do it on your own. But I don't want to make you retype everything 100 times, and hopefully you can remember it anyway. All right, so the first line of code is, I'm just retyping this stuff right here, and I'm going to explain it as I go. Okay, semicolon means ignore me, right? It's just text, Leo, and put your name in there, right? Next colon or semicolon, and put face off. That's what this thing is. So this is the stuff you give to somebody else, or you write in there so the next guy on the guy on the machine knows what the heck's going on. Then you usually put what the material is. So it's 3 by 3 by 1.5, and it's wax. Okay, it's actually called machinable wax. They use it for prototypes and stuff, but we're just going to call wax because we don't want to type that much. Next line is M6 is the first one that does something. T1, and I'm going to put a semicolon after that. And I'm going to write, and this, I think you should do this too. Okay, and I don't think you should. You need to do it, or I'm going to take points off. Okay, I'll put a semicolon after that and call it change to 201. This will help you pass the midterm because you're going to see that every time. Change to tool 1. Okay, the M6 changes tool, T1 tells it what you want. Pretty simple stuff, right? Easy coding. All right, next one, slash. It's backward slash. It's very important that slash is going the right direction, and you put that in there because we're going to ignore that when we do our virtual testing. Okay, but on a real machine, we don't ignore. We actually do tell it to go home. Okay, so then we type G28. Okay, I'm gonna put a couple spaces and semicolon and just say go home. Okay, so that's what that one does. Right. And the next one, backward slash again, and it's G92. This is very important, so pay attention to that number and make sure you type it correctly, because if it's off, when it gets on a machine, it will not work. And you will not be able to see that in the virtual machine because we're ignoring it in the virtual machine. So you can crash the real machine by not typing this number correctly. So this is one you want to pay attention to. So make sure you're looking at this over here while you're typing and get it exactly the same, because it's just because I type it wrong doesn't mean you can type it wrong. My typing skills are terrible. X negative 2.892 space Y 4.328 space Z 4.527, and that now with semicolon set current position. Okay, now really that this, so set current position, I don't know if that's the right thing to say. It's basically setting the part reference 0. Okay, I'm too lazy to type all that though. Well, that basically tells it where the 0 is on the part. It says this, like I said that several times before, this is how far it is from the home, which is up to the left on our machine, to the actual 0 of the part, which I think we're doing the bottom left on these. Okay. No, we're doing the top left. Top front left is our 0 position on this. Okay, not the bottom because it's 1.5 inches thick. Okay. Next line, M3 S2000. So the M3 says turn that spindle on. S2000 tells it the speed of how fast. So turn spindle on 2000 RPM, revolutions per minute. Okay. And some of the big machines, you know, the faster, we'll learn about this next class, but the faster you set that RPM, the faster you can buzz through the material. So that's what they say when the speed and feed are proportional. Okay, so you'll see real powerful new machines going 50,000 RPM, and they can literally fly through metal because they're going so fast, they're spinning so fast that they got enough horsepower, you know, about 30 horsepower or something like that on the spindle, which is crazy. But it's also, you know, if things aren't done right, it's dangerous too. Set current position, did down. Okay, now we're on the G01. So this is our first position. Okay, so this is the first time we're going to go somewhere. So G0, not O, G0, X negative 0.6. So we're going to go down to right here, that number on the CAD layout. So I'll move my CAD around because we're starting to do that now. I'm going to tell you where this, I can't, it's hard to do that on the Okay, so remember we said so now we're telling it where it goes. So the X is 0.06 right there, and the Y is 0.375. So we're going to send it to right here. Okay. And then we got to tell it how far above the part as well. We don't want to crash. We want to go, we're not on the part, we're to the left of it, right? So we'll go a little bit below the part, and then when it goes over, it can cut material. Okay. All right, so that's the G0. So negative 0.6, just like that place was there, and a Y of 0.375. Okay. And then a Z of a negative 0.04. So we're going to cut what they call 40 thousandths. Okay. So that's, you don't put any, put the zero behind it. I just did kind of explain 40,000. So when you're talking about machining, they usually talk in thousandths of an inch, because a lot of machines are accurate to like 1 or 3,000, 1,000 or a half thousand. So this they say take off 40 thousandths. Okay. Well, semicolon there in this first position, and this will be the first position for quite a while. So you'll be able to reuse this program that we're writing a lot. Okay, now we're going to tell it where to go next. Okay, so this is where it actually changes to the next program. So I'm not going to put that number in there yet, because I'm going to make a template program so we don't free type all this every time. So put a couple spaces down here. Okay, and then type the stuff you see at the bottom down here. Okay, we're going to go through that. So when we get done writing the code that's going to be written in the middle of this, we're going to basically say, okay, G0 again, which means going high speed, top speed, at and get up there into a safe spot, which is Z of 2. So it's going to go up 2 inches and get out of the way of everything. Okay. Semicolon, go to a safe position. Because it's good not to turn the spindle off in the material. You can leave a mark on it, especially if you accidentally move it after you turn the spindle off. So that's why it's going to go to a safe position first. Okay, and then M5, that code just shuts it down. So spindle off. Okay, so make sure you're typing all that text in there. And then we go back to 201. So the next guy, in case he forgets to put 201 in first, that it's in there. Because remember, it has to have 201 in there to home correctly. Otherwise, the home will be in the wrong spot. This is kind of a double check thing. So I'll put 201 back in. Next guy should have the 201 in it then and start faster. 201 back in. Now we're only using 201 on this program, but we're going to use this program and keep adding to it and keep making it do more stuff. Okay. So later 202 and everything else will be put in. This one, the only one we're actually running is 201, but as we add to this program, it becomes more important. We type M2 semicolon, end of program. You always should have that in there, or the program just sits there and waits for you to do something. It looks like I put a colon in there and I put a semicolon. Okay. All right, is everybody good? All right, let's save this thing as template. Make sure you're saved to the right place. So save should be the first time. So you should be able to hit save here. Okay, make sure you bring it to your U drive. Yeah, I'm doing this on my laptop, so it's going to be somewhere else. Make sure you save it on CAD's or Sim60 on your U drive. And I'm going to call this lab 2 to face off. And this is just a text file. So like I said, you could actually write this exact same program in Notepad. The only difference was it won't automatically number for you for troubleshooting, which the numbers don't do anything anyway, except for to help you with troubleshooting. And it won't run a virtual machine, but you could write the same thing and label a .nc instead of a .text in Notepad, and it would run just fine on 95% of machines in the country, which is pretty cool. Okay, and that's actually how a lot of people do it. They don't want to spend any money on software, even though there's these freewares out there. This is a freeware, so save. Okay, now we're going to resave it as lab. What did I save that to? As lab 2. I should have told you to save it as template, so I'm sorry. So save as template. Okay, I'll call it mill actually. Or if you already called it template, it's fine. You'll save the next one as lathe when we get that far anyway. Template mill, save. Okay, so now I'm actually going to close this out and open my face off that I already saved, because I'm sure I saved it right. I kind of did that wrong. So I don't want to run over top of my template. So I'm gonna close that out and I'm gonna go to file and open my face off back up. All right. Now, if you open it back up, it always locks because they don't think anybody should be changing the program, right? It's kind of standard status quo. In factory, you're not allowed to change the program on the floor. So it's locked, so you got to go to edit and unlock it. If you reopen like I did, so I got to unlock it. So if you ever open your program back up and it won't let you do anything with, that's why you always got to go to edit and unlock it. Okay. All right, so I did that on purpose to show you the unlock, not really. But. All right, so now we need to write a program, and then we're going to test it by doing this, and we should be good to go. And we're about done today. There's not too bad of a class today. Too long anyway. All right, so the program, I'm going to write most of them with you, and then you're going to have to write the last one yourself. So make sure you pay attention and think about what we're doing, and then you're going to have to run it. So once you run it, once we get done writing it, I'll write it too, and I'll probably hide the screen or something like that. And then you basically got to, you go, when you get all the way done, you go to, don't do this yet. I'm showing you what to do after you write the program, because you all get done at different times. So after you get done, this is what you do. It's follow the instructions, but basically you just go to edit and go to renumber and hit do it. Okay. And it'll basically put end numbers in front of there. So if you run the problem, you can troubleshoot it down here. Okay. And then just like last time, pick the verify button, hit the optional skip, which is right there first. Okay. All right. Hit the verify button and optional skip. And then I think you hit optional skip first, actually. Then run the thing and see if it actually does go zip, 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 zip. You'll probably have to slow it down. The minus slows it down, plus speeds it up. You can change the size of this window, all kinds of stuff like that. Okay. All right. And you can test this one. It's actually a good idea to test your template to make sure it works. Okay. So it should go through all this right now. So let's just test it right now, actually, because it's good practice. Don't renumber it yet, though. You can renumber 1,000 times. Doesn't hurt anything, but it's kind of funky. All right. So hit verify. Let's make sure our template's actually right. We didn't have any typos in our template. Okay. And then we go to, and I was wrong already. Hit cancel and hit optional skip. Always hit that first. Optional skip. Verify program. Okay. Now it's going to go real fast. So I'm going to hit the minus a few times to slow things down. Okay. Now I'm going to hit the green button. Okay, and it's telling me it's putting tool 1 in, okay? So it's basically putting tool 1 in there. It always makes you say that's okay. So I'm gonna hit the green button to say, yeah, I know you put tool 1 in. It's fine, okay? And it went all the way through and got done because we didn't really go anywhere, okay? Everything was happening so fast, they're just finished. But that's what you want to see, normal program stop. If you don't see that, if you see an error, then down here it should tell you where it's at. Then you need to fix it, okay? Did everybody get through it okay? Everybody did? Nobody made any mistakes? Man, you guys are good. Okay, good. Now we don't have to resave it and all that jazz. Right. Okay, so now we're going to type our locations in. Okay, so let's open up AutoCAD on the other screen, which is the same as the one I gave you too. Okay, we ready? We're right here. Okay, this is where we're sitting. 40,000 below the part. And we're going to go straight across here. Okay, and we're going to go up. So all these are different codes. Okay, so the first one I kind of gave you in here. All right. And that is G1 X 3.6 F10. What the F10 does, it says go at a speed of 10 inches per minute. Okay, so that's in inches per minute. That F is the speed. Okay, so that's what we're doing there. So we go G1 X 3.6 because we're going straight over. You don't need to type the Y position unless it's changing. And same thing with Z. Okay, you could type them. So I could type in X 3.6 Y 0.375Z of negative 0.04, but you don't need to. It's a waste of typing. Okay, so it doesn't hurt if you forget that you not retype them. But if we're only going straight over, if we're only changing distance in the X, you don't need to type the rest of them. You only need to put the speed on there when it's changing and the first time, of course. Okay, so after that, after this first time, we got the speed on there. Our first G1 it means it's got a speed. G0 doesn't have speed. It just goes as fast as it can to there. No matter what you put F on there, it's going to ignore it. Okay. So G1 basically needs a speed, and it's probably going to go as fast as it can unless you put F10 in there. So you got the first one, we got to do that. After that, you never have to do it unless you change it. And we do it when we later on, we'll get into finished cuts and do a nicer job. We'll slow it down with a different F rate. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to turn that off and only the layout because we don't have any more codes. I'm not going to give you any more right there. Okay. So we went straight over 3.6. Okay. So somebody tell me now, you don't need to repeat. So what they programming is called modal. Okay. So if what modal means is it remembers what you just did, and if things don't change, it keeps it the same. That's all. So if you see that word in the text and anywhere else in machining, they talk about a lot. It's modal. It means not changing. Don't retype it. Okay. So we're in G1 and we're cutting through stuff. we're not going to change it to like a G0 go fast for a while. Well, actually we are. I lied to you. If it doesn't change, you don't need to retype it. Okay. It is actually going to change because we're not actually in the part here. Okay. We're outside the part. So we need to go to G0. So I almost messed that up. So we need to go to G0, which says go to high speed since we're no longer in the part. And then we put a space in there and I need to go straight up. So anybody want to tell me what the next thing I should type would be? Anybody want to guess? Yeah, so it'd be Y. But okay, so that's real close. Okay. So as you noticed over here, we went over to 3.6. Okay, so remember I briefly said a while ago, we're not using relative numbers. Okay, so yes, we are going up 0.375, and theoretically, if we did some settings in here, you could type that, but we're not using relative numbers for the most part when we're programming. So you got to type the X position, which is that, or the Y position. Okay, and you got to put Y on it too. Okay, so you're close. So you got to put Y because we're only moving into Y. Okay, and we got to put 1.1 or 1.125. Okay. Okay, so we went, because even though this number's over here, it's also the same height over here, right? Okay, so we went straight up to 1.2125. Okay, and we don't need speed because it doesn't matter, it's not changing anymore. G0 is always going fast. All right, so the next one, I'll help you with a few of them, and then a lot of them are pretty much going to repeat. They're just going to change numbers a little bit. At least all the X's will repeat. The Y's will change as you go up. Okay, help you out there a little bit. So anybody want to guess on the next? This is a little tricky. Anybody want to guess the X that I'm going to type in? So G1, because we're going to go in through the part, and we got to slow it down, and it's an X. What number should I type there? Okay, so you need to go to everybody else good? Okay, so what's the next number I'm going to type there? I'm going to sit here all day. All right, there we go. Negative 0.6. Negative 0.6. All right, there's my X. The one's on the bottom of X. You can't even see it. The one on the bottom of X. I should have zoomed in. That would have really given away. So all the X's, there's only two X's. We're not ever going to 0 or 3. We're always going here or past. So every X is either going to be going to negative 0.6. Even though it doesn't say negative, it's past 0 on the left. So it's got to be negative. Okay. And or 3.6. Those are the only two places we're going on the X. Now the Y, they're going to keep going up and down. So now we zoomed over to here, to a negative 0.6. Okay. Now the movements, the rest of the movements, I'm going to do one more with you, and you got to do the rest on your own, and then you're going to have to show it to me. Okay. So the rest of the movements, we're going to have to tell it from here to go to here straight up. Okay. We're going to type that one in, and that'll be, this just keeps repeating. Okay. It's going to be G0, G1, G0, G1, G0. And the G0, the Y's are always a G0 because they always are not going into part. Okay. The X, and in this case, and the X's are always G1 because they're always cutting material. They're all, these are the ones going left to right are always X movements. Ones going up are always Y movements. Okay. Okay. So listen, we're sitting right here. Okay. So just kind of remember where you're at. Okay. And we're going to go straight up to here. Okay. So what's our, you can put a bunch of spaces in here to keep them separated if you want. You got to keep them separated, right? Or that song. All right. So it's another G0 because it's going to be a Y. And it's going straight up and not apart. Okay. And of course, you got to type in Y. Don't forget to put your X and Y in there and your negatives. That's things people forget a lot. Okay, so we're sitting right here where we're going to go next. That's right, 1.875. We'll do one more together, okay? Now it's G1 because it's going to be an X and it's going to do the part. And we know it's going to be an X. We got to type in X. So we go from there. Yeah, it's the same as the other one was. They don't change. So 3.6, okay? All right, so you guys do the rest of them. I'm not doing to do the rest of them. When you get all done, just watch up here for one more second, okay? And then you guys can finish it out. And then one by one, I'll sign you off that you did it. And then if you did it at home, make sure you double check it, it's right. Okay. Now yours at home will look, well, let me finish it and then I'll hide this and show it to you. Okay. So I'm gonna stop the video just for 1 minute. And then I can't really do that very easily, I guess. I'll put it up there in a minute. Finish it out in case somebody has problems. But what you do is hit the optional, make sure the optional skip is red, pick the verify button, verify program. It's going to go to here. I'm going to slow it down with the minus again when you test it to make sure that you can always speed it back up. Now I'm going to hit the green button until it goes. Now so you can see what it's doing. You got to slow it way down. So it's going to go straight up. See the tool moving straight over. Now, so I think we did one more, didn't we? Yep, and then maybe one more. Okay, yours should go up here and then finish it out. Okay, it shouldn't go like that. Okay, and then go up to 2 and it's done. All right, so slow it way all the way down when you test it. Okay, to make sure you can see it moving. Otherwise, it's just too fast on this easy of a program. So when you get that done, show it to me, and then you can turn it in. And if you're doing it at home online, just make sure it does it correctly, and then turn it in. And I'll check yours later. Okay. Any questions? Okay. I don't think I forgot anything. Let me double check, but I'm pretty sure that's it. I'm gonna pause the recording, but I'll keep the video open. If you guys online have any problems, give me a yell, okay?